Hi guys, I got a special request to talk about this problem. It was kind of a challenge for some people, and I get why. We have this situation where definitely this guy is trying to make cars and trucks, and he's got only a set number of wheels, seats, and gas tanks, but each car and each truck takes a certain amount of those things, and so we want to see like how many cars and trucks he should be making. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Hopefully you read the problem, and this is problem number 88 in our homework, so I just wanted to go over it with you. Alright, so I thought maybe the first thing I would do, since there's so much information, is I'm going to make a table. I call this a two-way table, and I'm going to talk about how many wheels and seats and gas tanks each car or each truck needs. So you can tell, like, for example, wheels, each car needs 4 wheels, but each truck needs 6 wheels. Now, then I'm going to put the total available in his garage or whatever. And so he only has 36 wheels, he only has 14 seats, and 15 gas tanks. So essentially, how many cars and trucks can he make out of those, right? So he's kind of constrained as to his availability. So now I'm going to make essentially 3 equations, or inequalities actually. So the first inequality is wheels. So he can make any number of cars and trucks so long as it meets the wheel requirements for cars and trucks, and so long as those don't surpass 36 wheels, because that's all the wheels he has. So he can make it with fewer wheels, but he can't make them with more wheels, and so that's why we're using an inequality. And I'm going to do the same thing for seats. So 2 per car and 1 per truck, and he can make any number of cars and trucks so long as he has up to only 14 seats, because that's all he has. And then finally we'll do the same thing with gas tanks. So I'm going to think about graphing these now, because really they're all lines, right? And so not only are they lines, but we're going to shade where is appropriate. So I'm going to start with wheels. Now I really like it in this form, the standard form. And the reason why I like that is if these were like X and Y's instead of C's and T's, the way that we would approach graphing this is we would let, for example, X equals 0 to solve for the Y-intercept and Y equals 0 to solve for the X-intercept. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to let C equals 0 to solve for the T-intercept, and we're going to let, so in this case, T equals 6, and then we're going to let T equals 0 to solve for the C-intercept, all right? And I get C equals 9. So I'm going to use the point 9, 0. I'm going to put C where the x-axis is and T where the y-axis is. And I'm going to go ahead and just put the intercepts down there, and then I'm going to connect them, and that's the line. And since this is an inequality for the wheels, I'm going to need to shade below. So again, you can use a test point like 0, 0. 0, 0 would make this true, and so I'm shading everything below here. And I'm going to do the same exact thing for seats this time. So I'm going to find the X and Y intercepts for seats, and it's going to be 14 for trucks, and it's going to be 7 for cars. And so there's my line for seats, and of course it's an inequality, so I have to shade. And so now you can kind of see where they're starting to overlap. And then finally I'm going to use the same thing for gas, okay, and finding the C and T intercept for gas. And so again, I see now essentially where all 3 sections overlap, and we see these little corners in my graph, and essentially everything inside that little weird polygon is the number of trucks and cars this guy can make. So he can choose to make, very few cars and trucks, but he can only go out to the max of where those edges are. He can't make any more than those. And so that kind of gives you an idea. So let's look at some easy points. There's an easy point there, like 0, 5. He can make 0 cars and 5 trucks. There's also another easy point on the axis, and that is 7, 0, which means he can make 7 cars and 0 trucks. But then there are also some edge points up there in those corners, and so we're going to solve for those guys too, because that will also tell us how many cars and trucks he can make. And so the first one I'm going to solve for is the one that I've circled in red, and that's where the wheel line meets the gas line. And so I'm going to go ahead and take those two equations. I'm going to take the gas equation and the wheel equation, and I'm going to solve for that system. And I'm going to use an equal sign because I already know about the shading now. I just want to know the intersection. And so I'm going to use elimination, but right now if I add, nothing will eliminate. So I'm going to have to multiply by something so that I get elimination, distributing that -2 to both sides. And now I can go ahead, I can add those together, the -6 and the 6 drop out, and I see cars is 3. So right there at that point, I have 3 something, and so now I'm going to plug in 3 to either one of those equations, and I get 4. So I have 3 cars and 4 trucks. So right there, I get a maximum value of 3 cars and 4 trucks right there. And then I have the other one where the seat equation meets the wheel equation. I've got it circled in green. So again, there's the seat equation and the wheel equation. And again, I'd like to eliminate, but I can't, so I'm going to multiply both sides by something that will eliminate, and then do a little algebra. Okay, and that will solve for my trucks. So I'm going to get 2 trucks, and in that case, if I end up making 2 trucks, according to the number of seat and wheels, I can only make 6 cars. So essentially, everything inside of the connected shaded regions is the total number of cars and trucks that this guy can make. And how he chooses to make the combination of cars and trucks is going to be how he chooses to price the cars and trucks. And that's in the next problem. But once you know that you can only answer within those sections, then that's a good way for you to decide how many cars and trucks he should be using for however he prices it. So hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have any more questions on that. And thanks for asking.